Hello and welcome to this edition of Tech 24. I'm Julia Seeger. It's the first major space event of the year, the landing of NASA's Perseverance rover on Mars. Its mission is to search for signs of ancient microbial life, which will advance the agency's quest to know whether the red planet was once inhabited and by who. And in Test 24, we'll try new augmented reality glasses by the Canadian firm eSight. Their mission is to transform the lives of people who are visually impaired. Now, February 2021 is a month dedicated to Mars. Both the UAE and China have reached orbit around the red planet, and NASA has also launched its own mission. Perseverance is on a long and difficult journey. The rover took off from Earth almost 6 months ago and will reach its destination by February 18th, a 471 million kilometer voyage to search for signs of past microbial life. Well, Peter O'Brien, our tech editor, is here with us on set again this week. Hello.
Hi, Julia.
Welcome. So tell us more about this Perseverance rover. It's going to Mars, but it's not just to find signs of past life.
Yeah, so as well as looking around on the Jezero crater for remains of microbial life that could be still there after 3.6 billion years, it's also carrying with it something which is about the size of a car battery, and that's going to take the CO2 out of Mars's atmosphere, which, as we know, has a lot more CO2 than it does down on Earth, and it's going to electrochemically split this into carbon monoxide and oxygen as an experiment to see if a much larger one, say 100 times bigger, can be sent with humans onto Mars in the future to support their mission.
Now, Peter, this mission is also an opportunity to test other technologies, and namely the helicopter. It's called Ingenuity.
Yeah, so Ingenuity we could end up seeing the first powered flight on another planet. But first, it needs to withstand freezing cold temperatures, far below freezing, minus 90 degrees Celsius. It also has to fly in an atmosphere which is only about 1% as dense as that back on Earth. And to do this, it's very light, so it's only about less than 2 kilograms of mass, and it's got these carbon fiber propellers which spin very, very quickly indeed. Not only that, though, it's not only got this detachable folding helicopter, which is pretty cool, it's also got a very powerful laser, which from about 6 meters away can dust off a surface, and with its array of cameras which are around the laser, it can look at a speck maybe about the size of a pencil tip and analyze the chemical makeup of this rock to an amazing degree of accuracy from, as I said, 6 meters away, so don't even need to be close to it whatsoever.
Right, and Peter, first though, all this expensive equipment has to actually land on the red planet.
Yeah, that's right. So they call it the 7 minutes of terror, and this is the minutes between arriving at the top of Mars's atmosphere to landing in a precise location down on the surface. Now, of course, it takes 11 minutes to actually radio back to Earth, so Perseverance has to do a whole lot by itself.
Jezero Crater is a great place, a magnificent place for science. But when I look at it from a landing perspective, I see danger.
Folks look at the Sky Crane landing system and think, is this crazy?
The rover has either landed successfully or crashed long before we hear about it. It takes a few minutes for us to know, and that is a very, very tense time period.
Decades of experience don't make these 7 long minutes any less terrifying.
The site is replete with steep cliff sides that we're having to run right through the middle of the landing site. There's sand, there's boulders, there's impact craters. All of these would be a bad day if we touched down on them.
In the thin Martian atmosphere, a parachute isn't enough to get a car-sized, 1-ton, multi-billion-dollar rover from 12,000 miles an hour to a complete stop.
The rover, attached to a platform with retro rockets, will lower down close to the surface of Mars, within about 10 meters of the surface. And then the rover will essentially be winched to the surface on the Sky Crane. And then as soon as the rover touches down, the cables will be cut and the platform with the rockets will fly away and crash.
Luckily, it's a tried and tested method, used successfully by NASA's Curiosity in 2012.
It's a product of careful, reasoned engineering thought because basically it allows you to land only the mass that you want and not land the whole carrier vehicle, which is a lot less difficult.
For all NASA's confidence, fingernails will be chewed. Even once the rover's landed, there are several minutes of dead silence before, hopefully...
Touchdown confirmed. We're safe on Mars.
Now, Peter, some, of course, are criticizing this mission because of its cost, 2.5 billion euros, but it could actually be very useful to help us solve problems here on Earth.
Yeah, that's right. Obviously, the US government thinks it's well worth its value, not just for Americans, but for science as a whole. And one of the reasons why is because they're hoping to actually, for the first time, bring material back to Earth from Mars, put it in another rover and get it back eventually. Now, to do this, you need a very, very well sealed container. And the material that's been used to seal this, to develop this container, is actually already being used for heart surgery back on Earth. Another example is the autonomous driving tech that the robots use. Well, that's being used in developing autonomous vehicles back on Earth. And also, next time you might be allowed to go to a bar, the froth that you have on your beer could actually be derived from Martian tech. So it's this CO2 recovery technology that they've developed for future missions, potentially transporting humans back from Mars to Earth. Well, they're already using that in breweries down here on Earth.
Now, this makes a nice transition, Peter, to our guest, who actually understood very early on that Martian tech could help us solve the toughest problems here on Earth. Barbara Belvisi is the CEO of the project called Interstellar Labs. The idea is to build space-inspired villages here on Earth. Well, to speak more about it, she joins us now on Tech 24. Hello, Barbara. Thanks for joining us.
Hi, Julia. Thank you for having me.
So these closed-loop control pods, if you will, were created at first to try to see if we could move on Mars one day, but they're actually going to help us solve a problem here. How so?
So the pods that were designed are completely environmentally controlled and a closed system. So it means that inside the pod where we actually growing food, we can capture the water back, we can control the air, we can control all the climatic conditions. So those pods are actually very efficient technology and system to grow food on Earth. And by saving energy, saving water, and growing, plants that usually we can't grow in indoor farming.
Now, is the next step the moon? Because we talk a lot about Mars, but the moon is actually another destination that could be possible. NASA is to send a mission there by 2024.
Yes, definitely. Like the stepping stones to go to Mars is actually to go back to the moon first. We're very confident that NASA is going to achieve the target that they have for 2023, 2024, and it's going to happen. We are actually also working with that and looking to participate to the Artemis program by collaborating to build a sustainable moon base. So it's a very reachable target, and we're going to make this happen.
Now, Elon Musk has said that he wants to go on Mars before he dies. How realistic is it to think about colonizing Mars by, let's say, 2026?
Honestly, I think that the path that SpaceX is going, and especially regarding the recent, update and evolution on the Starship, I think it's a reachable deadline to get the first Starship to go to Mars in 2026. When it comes to sending humans, I would love that to happen in 2026, but on our side, we are more expecting the first humans flight to be around like 2032, something like this, around those dates. But I mean, if Elon reaches 2026, let's go with the flow.
Well, thank you very much for that, Barbara Belvisi, the CEO of Interstellar Labs. We're going to move on now to Test 24. Now, for most of us, recognizing a face, reading a book, or using a computer are instant and uncomplicated tasks, but not necessarily for the 30 million blind or partially sighted people in Europe alone. One solution for some is, of course, an assistive headset, and we have the latest generation here on the set of Test 24, Peter.
Yeah, that's right. This is the eSight 4. Now, it's got a 18 megapixel camera at the front here, and then two high-resolution screens at the back, which sit right in front of your eyes. So I'll just show you if I pop it on here. What's quite handy about this is when you're wearing it, you can literally pop it down when you need to use it and then swing it back up if you need to, say, talk to someone. Now, this will work for a variety of visual impairments. It might not be so good if you've got a lot of blind spots, especially centrally. I actually talked to a man called Sam Seavey, who's an assistive technology expert and a YouTuber, just to get his take on the matter.
It's a very impressive device. I like a lot of what they've done to it. They've updated it a lot from the eSight 3. This is definitely going to work well for anybody with peripheral vision loss, and maybe they still have pretty decent central vision. It will work for central vision loss, which is what I have. It just maybe to a certain level. You know, my central vision loss is past that level maybe.
Yeah, so what I like about these is they just make life so easy. They've got this touchpad on the side and this all this wireless controller, and you can use either of them to zoom in on the image. So if you are someone who does have a bit of central vision, they could work really, really well for you. The other thing is, which I find really quite cool, is it's got this HDMI port here, or you can use Wi-Fi or Bluetooth to connect to any screen and watch any sort of video you want to watch right in front of your eyes like that.
Now, briefly, the Israeli company Orcam has also been working on its own solution. It's very easy. You can just clip it onto the glasses and it feeds back information about the surrounding environment.
Yeah, this is what it looks like here. So it's very discreet and it's got this award-winning smart reading technology which picks out, for example, if you're looking at a newspaper like Shears, you can just say, read me the headlines, and it will just read you the headlines, or say you're holding some notes of money, say, how much is that one? You know, say 20 euros, 5 euros, etc.
Very useful tech. We love those examples here on Tech 24. Thank you very much, Peter. It brings us to the end of this week's edition of Tech 24. We hope you enjoyed it, and we'll see you next time.